Hi friends, how are ya? Well, it is a Tuesday night and it is the beginning of the month, and I don't have a ton of time this week because it's the beginning of the month, but I don't have a meeting tonight. So that means I am gonna food prep a ton of stuff, but this recipe really is, I had made a pot roast, and so we couldn't do meatless Mondays because we had leftovers. So we're doing meatless Tuesday because any night can be meatless. Why has Monday got all the fun? I've got mushrooms, so that's what I'm cooking tonight, and it's gonna go on spaghetti squash, so it's kind of like a Cincinnati chili, but it is going on spaghetti squash instead of spaghetti, and so that's gonna be our dinner tonight. And I just got some cheaters because I'm also making a meatloaf, which we'll eat for the rest of the week, and I'm also making an egg bake for breakfast tomorrow. So I've got a lot of different moving parts, and let's just be real, as we're doing that, it is easier to take some shortcuts and to care for ourselves. And let's just be clear, you are worth it. So I went ahead and bought the mirepoix at Trader Joe's, and that's gonna, so it's just celery and onions and peppers. No, celery, onions, and carrots, mirepoix, it's not the Trinity. And so I'm gonna cook this down a little bit, and this is gonna go not only into my chili, but it's also gonna, some of it's gonna go into my meatloaf, and some of it's gonna go into my egg bake. So it's gonna divide 3 ways, and that's gonna be really good. I've got mushrooms cooking, and they're gonna go into the meatloaf and into, actually they're going into all 3. It'll go into the meatloaf, they'll go into the egg bake, and they'll go into the chili too. So I wonder what goes into your chili. I love to put as much as I can into it. I'm gonna chop up some kale that's gonna go into all 3 as well. I just think if you can meal prep a couple of different things that, and it can go into 3 different, or even 4 if you can be that clever, 4 different dishes, you're gonna be, future self is gonna thank past self. I'm all about thanking past self. You know, you eat a leftover and you're like, oh, Tuesday Charles, she was kind. So that's what's going on here. I will be right back and I'll show you how everything's progressing. So the onions and the celery and the carrots are coming down, but I forgot to tell you, I've got two other little cheats. Trader Joe's, or not Trader Joe's, Wegmans does this, where it's red, yellow, green peppers and onions already chopped up. In the frozen section, you're worth $1.99. Don't let anybody tell you different. So there that goes. That whole bag's going in there. Right, I could have just put that into, I've got that, and that's gonna cook down a little bit. This is gonna be for the chili and for the egg bake. For the meatloaf, let's talk about the meatloaf. The meatloaf is actually gonna get 1 chopped onion and a bag of ménage trois, peppers from Trader Joe's. That's gonna go in there. And I've made the turkey meatloaf for you before, so go back and check out that recipe. And I've made the egg bake for you before, so go back and check out that recipe. I know that if you haven't done a spaghetti squash, which I love, you can do it with pesto. You could do it with pesto. You could bake an egg in there if you wanted a soft boil egg, or cook it for a little bit longer if you wanted to do it if you like a harder cooked egg. But you would bake the squash exactly like number 54, episode 54 shows you, and then you would scrape it, and then you would put the eggs in them, and then you'd put them back in the oven. And if you put a little tomato sauce, use a jar from the store, cheater hack that will make your heart happy, and then put, heat it up. You could add an onion if you wanted to, if you want to get fancy, but don't have to. And then put eggs in them and then bake them. That's going to give you kind of a shashuka almost with the spaghetti squash. And I mean, oh my gosh, I don't even know how many calories that would be, because it would be 0 really. 70 something for each of the eggs, and then the spaghetti squash is worth nothing. So a couple tablespoons of oil. I mean, it might be under 300 if you're counting calories, if that's your game. So make that. But tonight it's chili, and that's going in spaghetti squash. So we're just going to keep cooking down the onions and the peppers and the celery and the carrots, and I'll keep showing you. Hang tight. So in true Charles fashion, I don't know how to cook for only 2. And I thought I was making a small pot, but it's actually more veg than I thought, which is not a bad problem to have. So I'm going to take the opportunity to wake up the herbs a little bit before I add the mirepoix to it. So I've got some cumin, got a little bit, I've got 2 tablespoons of olive oil in there, and I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of cumin. That's good. You can always go back. You can't go backwards, right? So if you're afraid of it, give a little less than you think you want. I'm going to put 1.5 tablespoons of chili powder in to wake that baby up. Just let them bloom. When you can smell them, that's when you know that you don't want to burn them. You just want to get them smelling. So right now they're kind of going pasty, getting a good paste. Ta-da! You can see some of that. And then I'm also going to add a little smoky paprika because, well, paprika brings the smoke. So that's a tablespoon and a half, or a teaspoon and a half of paprika. Ooh, baby. Yep. That's yummy. Okay. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and dump in the vegetables. I've got a good amount of carrots, which will make it a little sweeter. That means a lot of people put sugar in to a tomato sauce. You don't have to. Grate a carrot or chop up carrots and get that in there. And honestly, if you chop carrots finely or if you grate them finely, they're going to dissolve. So you wouldn't even see the carrots if you're trying to hide them from anybody that's, you know, carrot phobia. Carrot-phobic, as it were, if that's a word. So I've got those in, and then I've got mushrooms, which are going to bring the meat flavor and a little texture to our veg. I've got them, and I haven't let them cook dry, so they're still kind of wet. So that's going to give me some of the mushroom juice as well as the mushroom. It just is doubling my mushroom flavor, and that's not going to make us sad. So there's that. Then I've got 1 can of green chilies, and that goes. This is a 4-ounce can, chopped green chilies. That's going to give us a little bit more, another layer of flavor, a little bit more. I'm going to put some tomato paste in. I'm going to use the whole little can. This is 6 ounces. And that's going to make it taste like it's been cooking all day when it's been cooking for 30 minutes. So you don't have to cook down the vegetables the way I did tonight, but your chili, your business, right? This is how I'm doing mine. And honestly, all a recipe is a springboard. Don't be afraid. Don't feel like you have to stick with it. Or the first time you do a recipe, stick with it. See how it goes, and then kind of go, man, I wish it had some more of a smoky flavor. Well, up the paprika. Go for it. I'm not in your kitchen. I'm not coming to tell you how to do it. I mean, I am, because here I am, but you know what I mean. Okay, so all of that, and it's still kind of pasty. So I've got 1 can of diced tomatoes in juice, and that's gonna make it a little bit less thick, which is great. You can always add water, and when I rinse out these cans before I recycle them, I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna swish the water back and forth so that it can share some of that. Here I've got 1 can of drained pinto beans and 1 can of dark kidney beans. And friends, that's it. That is meatless chili at the Dixon's for Tuesday to make up for our, you know, leftover meat Monday. And I believe in tacos any night of the week, so I don't, you know, I'm not a strict Taco Tuesday kind of girl. Okay, well, I'm gonna check out and see where Peyton is with the spaghetti squash, and I'm gonna let this just kind of get to know each other, but not a small pot of chili. We'll just freeze some of it, eat it in a couple of weeks. What do you know? Okay, gonna turn down the temp a little bit and let it just hang out until it's time for dinner. I'll let you see what it looks like when we're done. Guess what I forgot? The kale. Of course there's kale to go in here. I prepped 3 cups of it. So I've already hidden it in the meatloaf, and I've hidden it in, well, not really hidden it, but I've put it into the egg bake as well. Let's get some of it in the chili. It's gonna cook down. It's gonna add some extra flavor, and let's do it. And I've rinsed out the cans, and so I'm gonna add 1/2 can of water just to let it thin out a little bit, because that paste is gonna thicken it up as well. Okay, this is loaded with vegetables, loaded with vitamins, and loaded with flavor. That's what I'm talking about. Cincinnati chili. Well, I don't know what goes in Cincinnati chili. I think maybe cinnamon, and I think sugar. So I might look at a recipe, but we're gonna eat it as if it were Cincinnati chili, but not on spaghetti, but on spaghetti squash. This is what's for dinner.